Always a pleasure to talk to Dean Adams. Today's a particular pleasure because he's here in the Pompey Sound studio. Welcome.
It's good to be here, Tommy.
Well, it's great to see you in the flesh. You're looking just as youthful and vigorous as I remember.
Yeah, a little bit tanned. Just come back from Italy. Went to watch Bruce Springsteen in concert at the old San Siro.
I thought you were going to say I went to watch a central midfielder.
I saw a couple of footballers out there, but I didn't know them. My brother knew them, but one played for Inter Milan and one played for Bologna, I think it was, but I don't know who they were. But we've got enough to talk about anyway.
Yeah, we have. Mick Robertson went to Glastonbury, and last year at Glastonbury.
Mick at Glastonbury?
Yeah, I know. He knows the woman.
Oh, okay.
Yes. He sometimes gets to stay in the farmhouse.
Oh, lovely.
I know.
Blimey.
But he was there with his partner, and you saw Peter Crouch.
Oh, yes.
Wandering around.
Crouchy loves all those festivals.
You can't miss him, can you?
Yeah.
See? So Mick didn't know what to say, but she started humming the Pompey chimes.
Oh, okay.
Whereupon he turned round, looked to see who it was, came running up. 50 yards, weaving through people to meet the lady who was chanting, "Play Up Pompey."
Blimey.
And they had a good old short natter, you know, so...
I didn't think Mick would be in his wellies in a tent and stuff like that. He'd be in the cottage, wouldn't he?
No.
The manor house.
He wanted me to know and everybody to know that he went for Neil Young, not Rod Stewart, which is, I think, a fair comment. Let's get onto football proper. The sort of bombshell, but not, that's most recent, Dean. I'm desperate to get your thoughts about Matt Ritchie.
Yeah, this is a real funny one because outside of football as such, we don't know the ins and outs. So from what it looks like from my perspective, as we sort of said off air, we sort of got wind of this a couple of months ago, and when I heard that, I was thinking, no way, this is no way true. It can't be true. Don't want it to be true. And I still feel the same now. Why would you... From my personal view is it looks like he's being forced out. Mm-hmm. Whether that's to do with money, lack of game time between the conversation between John Messino and Matt Ritchie, I don't know. But nobody is guaranteed a starting place in football. I cannot believe Matt Ritchie would have turned up in a meeting and said, I want to start week in, week out. Every footballer knows that doesn't happen. That could be tactical, the opposition you're playing, you might need a rest, you're coming back from an injury. There's all sorts of reasons why you may not play week in, week out. Mm. And John Messino wants 2 players per position as well. So you're not going to play week in, week out. So based on that, there has to be a little bit more to this. And I personally believe Matt Ritchie's probably been told he's not going to play a lot at all.
Game time.
That's probably it, yeah. And hence he's not gone to Slovakia. He's obviously looking for a club. We know he's looking for another club. The club they're talking championship level still. I still think he's a championship level player. I honestly don't know. I'm, as a Pompey fan, really, really disappointed this situation's happening because he's got so much to offer as a player. You can see his organisation, his communication. He's the loudest person on the pitch. His press is high. He looks... How old is he? 36, 37, did we say?
Yeah.
He looks the fittest player out there.
He plays the press as well as anybody plays the press.
Exactly. So to lose that kind of player, and on the pitch and off the pitch and away from the pitch, the leadership that he brings alongside Marlon Pack is critical to what we probably needed as in our second season in the Championship. And I find this completely bizarre. There has to be more to it. And as I said, I'm disappointed by it. I'm shocked by it because Matt Ritchie, to me, is one of the first players in that squad I'll be looking to nail down and keep. And like we said earlier, he's still got 1 more year on his contract. I believe he lives down in the New Forest on a farm or something like that.
I believe he virtually owns the New Forest.
Yeah, so he's local. At his age, why would he want to go to another club? Even Marlon Pack's come out, and Marlon Pack said he knows he's not going to play every week, but he's there for the club on and off the pitch and in the dressing room for the players. He's there as a leader. Matt Ritchie should be the same type of character. So something's not clicking between everyone involved.
Okay.
So,
does this notion help a bit of that click? Because last night we were discussing the possibility that John Messino, who has hinted that a deal is almost done with somebody,
yes, yeah.
Is there a possibility that deal, which is so almost done and dusted that they're kind of counting on it, for a player who can do what Matt Ritchie does, but is perhaps 28 rather than 38?
Possibly. I believe that player that they've been talking about is one that's going to cost a fair bit of money, and it's a young transfer central midfielder.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not the same position.
No.
However, you could be right in terms of financially.
If they're saving his wages,
Yeah.
Ritchie's wages,
Yeah.
they can transfer those considerable wages.
Yep, onto this person.
Yeah,
so
that's-
financially, it could be like for like. I don't think position-wise it's like for like. But we probably do need someone to come in. I'm going to say your second season in the Championship, you probably want your Marlon Packs, your leaders there. And Matt Ritchie's one of those. So you don't want to lose these type of players and characters from your team, from your squad.
John Swift?
I'd quite like that idea. Whether that would happen, it could happen. He wouldn't be cheap wages-wise,
No.
but has already been mooted as saying he would come back and he's a local boy. Yeah, so we don't know the ins and outs. Disappointing is the biggest word in my mind, but in the manager we trust, as they say,
Yeah.
and we've got to believe in what he's doing. John Messino, kept us up, took us up, kept us in the Championship. He's been extraordinary in 2.5 years. So,
John Messino, as former chair of the PFA,
yes,
is better placed than anybody in football to give footballers advice about their
true.
contracts,
Yes,
their termination of contracts,
yeah.
and help them with going forward, help them with their new directions.
Yeah, and I think he's very much like that. So he's not going to be a selfish person in just thinking of the club. He's going to think of Matt Ritchie's best interests as well. And he's obviously had an honest chat with him, and I believe that obviously hasn't sat that well with Matt Ritchie.
No.
And it could be a further case of, look, this is the situation. Do we want a player that's not that happy just being a bit part player? And then you have the final, well, if you're not happy, then there's the final push there in terms of, look, you need to stay behind from the tour and you need to find another club. So it's probably gone a little bit pear-shaped.
What do you make, just to move the subject on, but to stick with John Messino and his management techniques, of the decision made by TOWLER himself,
Yeah.
Lincoln, and Pompey, that he should go, and he should go to a club like Lincoln?
We're talking about TOWLER. I think TOWLER's obviously our fifth choice centre-back. I love Riley TOWLER. I think he's, with all due respect to Riley TOWLER, everything I've seen him in training and in game time, he at the moment is probably a League One player and needs to be a League One player for at least another season or so. And that's not being disrespectful to him, because I believe Riley TOWLER is a potential Championship player. He's going to be a really good player, and I like Riley TOWLER. I've seen him play some excellent games. He's scored some excellent goals. But being fifth choice, at his age, from his personal point of view, he's going to need guaranteed. You can't say guaranteed because we've just had that conversation. Guaranteed football doesn't really happen. But he needs regular football at a club his level, and I believe that Lincoln City is probably a good fit for Riley TOWLER. We could come back in a couple of years to regret that, because I think he will be a really good Championship player. But at the moment, as a club like Portsmouth, Riley TOWLER isn't going to get any game time next season. And you probably want a fifth choice centre-back that's a bit like a third goalkeeper. He's going to be there to cover your bases when you're needed. But we've got that in Marlon Pack. We've got that in Jordan Williams. We've got that in Conor Ogilvie. There's left and right backs and centre midfielders that can drop back and we know can cover the fifth centre-back position. Although John has come out and said he wants a fifth centre-back. But that's either going to be an under-21 player who's going to be struggling. An under-21 player from the Premier League also needs game time. So as I said that, I'm thinking, well, is that player going to come in as a fifth choice centre-back? Probably no. So you're probably looking at that third goalkeeper type scenario, that Jordan Archer scenario, where he's going to play when needed, and the lower cup games. So, but for Riley TOWLER and for the club, that's a really good move on both parts. He will become a really good Championship player, Riley TOWLER. But for us as a club at the moment, he's down there in, fifth place as a centre-back.
Do I remember rightly that at the start of last season there was talk of him possibly going out on loan, and it being said that he had said he didn't want to go out on loan, he wanted to stay and fight for his place.
Yeah.
That didn't work then, did it?
It didn't work. I think sadly for him, he had a chance to go to one or two places. I believe Crawley was one of them. He had a chance to go to one or two places, but I think one or two injuries then struck us, didn't they, at centre-back? And I think they did all season, to be honest. And I think if you're John Messina, you're thinking, well, these centre-back injuries are happening every month. You can't let your fifth-choice centre-back go. Tom McIntyre had already gone to Charlton at that point, I believe. So you needed Riley Towler to stick about. Unfortunately for Riley, he couldn't quite get in there for game time. And the games he did play, we looked all at sea. Not because of him, as a team. I think he played at West Brom away when we lost 5-1, I think it was. And one of the goals, he looked all at sea. And there was maybe another one that was questionable. But, yeah, it's a difficult one. He needs a good year or so in probably League One, and that's where he's based now. So good luck to him. Good character.
One of the qualities, I don't know if you agree, we look for in a centre-half, perhaps particularly at Pompey, is command. Because there's a lot of blood and thunder in the Championship. And although, for example, Regan Poole is no bigger and thicker set than the likes of Towler and McIntyre, those two possibly have been remaindered because of that elusive quality of command.
Yeah, you want physical centre-backs. You need at least one old-fashioned centre-back that's got the height,
old-fashioned,
power.
That's a good way of putting it,
The Billy Gilberts, the Noel Blakes, you remember going back through the years, and you've got your powerhouses at the back who are basically going to kick it into row Z. And you do need an old-fashioned centre-back. Football's becoming a little bit different these days. You do need one modern-day footballer, and that's a ball-carrying centre-back that plays as a deep-lying centre midfielder. And I think that's why Marlon Pack played that so well in the home games, because he played as another midfielder. He could bring the ball out and set up our attacks. And you've got an old-fashioned centre-back sitting behind him, so that works really well. But yeah, you need a mixture these days, the old-fashioned powerhouses and a ball-playing centre-back. And Riley Towler had a bit of both. I don't know how tall he was. He was tall, 6'2", 6'3". He had height. He scored some goals in games for us. He was always quite commanding in the air. He had that size. He was athletic. There was a game in pre-season last season where Riley Towler brought the ball out from the goalkeeper at Havant in pre-season.
I remember.
Strode forward, shimmied past one player, strode forward again,
walked it into the
probably
net,
hit about a 45-yarder. In the top corner. So he can do a bit of both worlds, and I believe from that he ticks a lot of boxes as a centre half. And as I said, a year in League One, he'll be in the Championship soon.
We've got a good relationship with Lincoln at Pompey Sound, and we've been getting information from them about how he's settling in. Apparently, they regard him as a versatile player who can play left back, central midfield, and centre half.
Interesting, yeah.
But he's already become a bit of a cult. Yeah. How does he do this? Because I think the love for him that Pompey fans had was almost disproportionate, and yet it was there. My wife, I'll tell you, said, "Who's he? He looks like a surfer."
I think it's probably his surf looks, his good looks with all the women. And I think it's his accent, his West Country accent. He came into the club a little bit different, as you could say. And he fitted in really well as one of the young lads. And great character, and you need those characters around. So good luck to him. He will be a miss around the club. But for his own personal development, he needed to move on. And
on a personal level, Dean, are you prepared to be patient during this transfer window? Or would you like to have a few more new bodies in the building?
I think John Messina he came out and said something this week about when you're in League One and League Two, you can pick up players pretty quickly at Portsmouth because you're a big fish in that pond. You're a big club. And a lot of players, you don't need to really sell the club because Portsmouth's Portsmouth. Any League 1-2 player would join Portsmouth as a League 1, League 2 club. So it was easy to attract players and easy to bring them in. When you're in the Championship, all of a sudden, you're going for Championship players or bottom-end Premier League players that bottom-end Premier League teams are going for and top-of-the-table Championship clubs are going for. So all of a sudden, we're a big club, but all of a sudden we're amongst these other big clubs where the sales tactic has to be spot on. So you're now fighting for these players. Yeah, it's been a little bit slow, but I think football in general has been a little bit slow on the transfer front. I don't think a lot's happened anywhere. I think the boy we've brought in from Australia, you can pronounce his name, but the boy we've brought in from Australia in midfield looks lively and promising and looks like he's done well in training so far.
I'm going with Segacic. He looks great on video, but anyone can look great on video, so we need to see him play and play consistently week in, week out. But he looks a very good signing. And then,
patience. The league season doesn't start yet. Every manager, every supporter would love all the players and signings done before the pre-season tour and the pre-season friendlies. Football doesn't quite happen like that. I'd love the football window to shut across the whole board, including under-21 players, before the season started. Because I know a couple of windows stay open until a month into the season.
Correct.
I don't know if I quite agree with that. I'd love a settled squad with no transfer windows for the whole season.
Oh,
so
right.
you know what... And there's arguments to say you can't sack your manager through the season and stuff like that. There's a few things I'd love to see changed in football. You stick with the players you've got and you stick with the manager you've got. But everyone's of a different opinion.
Yes, I believe the longest-serving manager, the third longest-serving manager in the Championship at the moment, after John Messino and somebody else, I think it's been in the job 20 minutes.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy,
isn't it?
How can you? It's quite commonly known you probably need 3 transfer windows to build your own squad. You've got to shift players out you don't want, you don't like, that don't fit into your systems. And they can't go straight away. They might have a year or 2 years left on their contract. You need 2 or 3 windows, at least 3 windows, I believe, to shape your own squad, and then you can start judging your manager properly.
It's the owners, isn't it? They're so impatient.
Yeah, and it's crazy.
They don't know football.
Yeah.
Our owners seem to be really picking things up pretty quick. Well, I say pretty quick. They've been our owners now for 7 years.
Look at Pompey's start last season. We had a tough start, but you could have, after 10, 15 games and some of the crazy results away at Stoke, Derby, West Brom, you could have sacked John Messino.
In the morning.
Yeah.
He knows it. He said so.
Yeah, I wouldn't have done. I get irate and annoyed and angry and disappointed with fans going online saying, he needs to go, blah, 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 this is disgraceful. Why would you play so-and-so? Where's Riley TOWLER? Everyone's moaning. And then we win the following week and everyone loves him. And that's football. That's football fans for you.
It is, and yet those football fans who don't know that much still probably know more than most of the owners in the Championship. Eisner's being an exception to the rule. Yeah. These are people who rule. They run the club from Malaysia, or from Turkey. Yeah. they don't go, or from South Africa. They don't go, and they don't get what we know about management taking time. I looked it up last night. Alex Ferguson was manager at Aberdeen for 8 years.
Yes, yeah.
And he did win quite a few things, but it took him 8 years to achieve the calibre that he then brought to Manchester United after a brief stint in charge of.
I think he had a poor start at United, didn't he? He was pretty. I think it was an average start, wasn't it? Or have I got that wrong?
We certainly didn't hit the ground running, and I think he persuaded the owners then that it was going to take time. And I'm not coming unless you're going to give me, let's say, 3 seasons. I don't know what the conversation was. I've read his book, and he doesn't go into that in his book. He goes into lots of interesting things in his book, but not that one.
But you look at Alex Ferguson. Alex Ferguson is also a very clever man. I believe he jumped ship at Manchester United at the right time because the players were ageing.
Good point.
And then you've got a lot of the players were ageing. And then you've got a complete squad overhaul. So David Moyes came in, had no chance. You look at all the managers since Alex Ferguson, they've pretty much failed because the squad's needed a big overhaul. And they've got all that wrong because they keep chopping and changing managers. Player comes in for that manager's gone within a year, and then the next manager doesn't like that player or he doesn't fit into that system. So you need another change, and you can't build it like that. The Eisners are business people. They're clever. They know what they're doing. People say, that they don't know Portsmouth, they don't know football. They have weekly, monthly meetings. They know what's going on. They need to know what's going on. They're clever people. They do know football, and they're doing it right. I wouldn't want to see the Eisners go, and I wouldn't want to see John Messino go. I think as a team, as a whole, and Richard Hughes, it works and it's clicked.
We've got something for sure. In a moment, I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you a very tricky question, because I love asking you tricky questions, and I'll give you fair warning on it so you can think about it whilst you're answering the next question. Where do you think we're going to finish next season? That's the tricky one.
Yes.
And I know you like to do predictions, and you'll give us a number, I reckon.
Yeah.
But on your way there, what do you say to the fans, or maybe you are one of the fans, who is a little bit impatient with this thing of all we want to do next season is finish comfortably mid-table?
I'm one of them. I believe we had probably the lowest budget in the league last season, if not one of the lowest. We finished, where did we finish? 16th, I believe it was. I think we finished above our budget would say, if the league table was based on budget, we would have finished bottom last season. So we've more than achieved last season. Finishing 16th was exceptional. I know we left it slightly late towards the end, and you don't really want that panic and worry as a fan. It's as I said before, you want to enjoy the championship games, but you're forever looking where you can pick up points. Where are you going to pick up points today, Tuesday night, next Saturday? Who we're playing? It's a worry as a football fan. It's hard to go through the last season and enjoy it because you're constantly looking at the fixtures and the league table and how many points you think you can get, and everyone's worried about it. You've also got to try and enjoy this. We're in the championship. We're where we probably need to be. We're probably where we deserve to be at the moment. And I think we're a good championship side. The answer to the big question is we finished above our level, as I said, in 16th last year. I believe our budget to suit our level this year is near on 16th position. Right. And if we finished 16th again, I'd be happy. I'd put us down. Looking at the league table, the signings that clubs have made at the moment, budgets and everything, looking at it, I said I'll be happy around the 15th position. You'll be mad if you think we can fight for every team can fight for promotion. Bristol City showed with Liam Manning coming in last season that they can suddenly climb the table and be up there. Millwall were and QPR were down with us at the start of the season and climbed their way to just outside the playoffs. It's possible, and we could do that. We've got a squad that's capable of doing that. But I'm not one of these people to say we could fight for automatic promotion. No chance. Playoffs, yeah, we could fight for that. Are we ready for that? No. I'd be happy with 15th, a comfortable, established season. Then next season, we'll only probably need to buy one or two more players, and our squad will be almost there to challenge. If we got into the playoffs this coming season and won the playoffs, we're in the Premier League. Great financially, but then we need 25 new players.
Yeah.
More or less.
Yeah, we've got some great 20, 21-year-olds
yeah.
who we're developing on the training ground.
With no development squad, with no old-fashioned reserve team.
I was going to ask you that exact question. Yeah. Would you like Pompey to have an under-23?
100%, yeah. 100%. I believe the under-23s is now reverted back to under-21s. So it's slightly different. You're allowed to
I've never understood that because you can still play for an under-21 when you're 23. So I think they say you can have two 23-year-olds.
Two overage players or something.
Yeah. Anyway, the concept's the same. A proper reserve side.
You get teams like Brighton who will have an under-21 side. You're allowed an overage player. So Brighton's overage player last year was 35 because he was an ex-Brighton captain, ex-Wales captain who was experienced. So he plays in the development team with all the youngsters, and he's the captain on the day, and he's the one that leads that team on the pitch. So all these youngsters, 21, 18, 19, 20, 21, are all playing alongside an ex-club captain or international captain because they learn from him on the pitch. And if you had an under-21 side or under-23 side at Portsmouth, whether we're in the Championship or the Premier League or whatever, and you had Marlon Pack sitting in the middle, learning off him, you'd learn a lot.
It's interesting, isn't it? We know who our head coach is and assistant head coach and goalkeeping coach and who's the development coach in the academy and there's Jay, of course, doing a great job running Pompey Women. We need to know who our lawyers are.
It's looking at it all as a group, and you just said Jay Sadler with the women. I know Jay quite well, and Jay's a great football coach. I've sat with him next to him on radio and sat with him for a whole game, listening to him as a character, as a person, as a coach, as a manager. And I've learned quite a lot of him just by sitting next to him. And he's superb for Pompey Women. And to keep them in the Championship last year was massive.
It was. I think everyone expected the opposite.
And it's good that they got promoted into the Championship at the same time Portsmouth men did. And they both stayed up in the Championship at the same time. And
he held them together.
Yeah, and they brought some...
And got the result.
They brought a lady in called Grace, who was head of recruitment, and she brought in 2, 3, 4 good signings in January alongside Jay as well. And they made a massive difference, upturning results. So they won't be down the bottom end of the league next season in the Championship. They'll be mid-table and fighting to look above.
Are there parallels between Pompey men and women?
It's very
fascinating.
Everything matches up a little bit, and it's good. It's great for the club. And you look at it all... It is all positive. So anyone that's online being negative about, we've not signed so-and-so, patience. We're still early summer. The cricket's still playing. Enjoy it.
It's been great to have you in the studio, or as John Messina would put it, in the building.
Yep.
And out on the grass. So where do you think we'll finish?
15th.
I'm hoping for 15. You hope for 15 and you think 15?
I think we will. I'm hoping for... I'm not going to say I'm hoping for the playoffs because I think that's too soon. I don't think we're ready for that. And that would be, if it happens, it happens, but we're not ready. I don't think we could be ready if it happens.
I could talk to you all day, Dean, but I always keep thinking of one last question, so I've got another last question for you. Are you going up the road in 5 games into the season?
Yes, I've got a job for another radio station on that day.
Wow.
Yeah, I've already prioritised that game so I could have it.
Wow.
So yeah, I will be at that place down the road in
What
September.
What a day.
It'll be interesting, yeah, so I can't wait.
What's the latest on when and on the date and the time?
12 o'clock on this. I don't think it got moved to the Sunday, but I know it's 12 o'clock on the Saturday or the
Midday.
Sunday.
Yeah, okay.
So that'd be a crazy atmosphere, brilliant atmosphere. Great for both clubs, great for the South Coast, great for football.
All right, and we'll get your thoughts next week, hopefully, yes?
Yes, please.
Good man, Dean, thank you.
Good to see you.